I'm Debra Morrison, a 42-year financial expert. Welcome to the We Can Do It Women movement, where women 50 and wiser step into the spotlight and make the rest of their lives the best of their lives. I'm your host, Debra Morrison, a wealth building expert who has championed financial empowerment for extraordinary women just like you. Yeah, for over 47 years, I've helped women secure their financial futures. And now I'm on a mission to ignite a revolution showing the world that at 50, 60, 70, and beyond, some of us might be a nickel slower, yet we're all just getting started. And our esteemed guest today comes to us from New York City, New York, Jill Cohen. Jill is a CT, which is a certified thanatologist, certified in death, dying, and bereavement. She's in private practice, able to work with grieving children and adults around the world and the country, helping clients navigate their new normal. Jill, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Deborah. Happy
It,
to be here.
It's indeed a pleasure. And I am wanting to give our listening and watching audience a small taste of some of your prowess. And so I will simply say you have studied death, dying, and bereavement for a while. You can opine as to how long. And you have the certification through the ADEC, Association for Death Education and Counseling. I don't know as a lot of people understand that this is even out there. So we're going to ask you to opine on that. Best known for your specialized work with kids, teens, adults, and families after the death of a loved one. And to quote you, I believe that nobody should have to grieve alone. Grief is hard, and it helps to have help. Wow, truer words have never been spoken. So, what got you into this field of thanatology?
Oh gosh. I back in 2005, no, in 1999, I started volunteering at a nonprofit for children who have lost a loved one. It was only for kids. And I was trained for it by this woman who founded the organization. And she modeled after the Dougie Center in Portland,
Oh,
Oregon,
oh, yes.
which is the Dougie Center. So the model for children's grief was the best in the land, that I was trained to work with, because I loved kids and I had learned the language of bereavement and understood it. My dad had died, and a couple close friends also. So I was more familiar with the wording and the language than a lot of people were in my group of friends and colleagues. I was working in a different career, and then I did volunteer work leading children's and adult and child loss and suicide and 9/11 groups at the United Hospice in Rockland County, New York, and for like 17 years, and loved it. But in 2005, I decided to become certified because I really felt that this was like a calling. I mean, people say it called to me, but I think I was called to it. And so, under the auspices of ADEC, which is the Association, as you said, of Death Education and Counseling, there was a very rigorous program to apply for certification. And I had, as I said, another career, and I came home every night and then went to a coffee bar with my textbooks and studied and studied. And of course, I had the volunteer experience, and we had textbook. It's a big ordeal for about 9 months. And we took a very difficult exam, like 3-hour exam, and really had to show fluence in grief, in the understanding from cultural to ethical to all the modalities and the famous experts and their meaning reconstruction, all of the theories of grief. So it was kind of big. And then that was in 2005, and I have gone through recertification every 3 years since. So that's a lot of webinar listening to, and I go to conferences almost annually, and I really stay kind of up to the minute on
Oh,
the new theories in grief. And I blog every week, and I write a newsletter every month. So I am constantly sharing grief, and speaking to organizations, sometimes medical practices, sometimes just a lot of sometimes companies who've experienced workplace grief. I'll go in and kind of do psychoeducation with them as they are working with employees who've died.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't applaud you enough for this work. As you know, I'm a grief coach, a certified grief coach, and I've written my second edition of My Husband Died Now What? A Widow's Guide to Grief Recovery and Smart Financial Decisions. So it's like a confluence between financial tripwires to avoid, financial steps to take, and grief recovery. And boy, I tell you, grief in this country, at least the United States of America, has been so maligned and so mishandled. It is like people just want to like stay away from anybody that's grieving because it might be catching. I don't know.
Yep,
Jill, talk to us about this whole notion that we have as Americans around grief. It is so misplaced.
it
It's
is so
subhuman,
misplaced.
isn't
It's
it?
when someone dies, nobody knows how to deal with you. When if you've lost a spouse, a parent, a child, a best friend, even, which is a disenfranchised loss because no one cares that you lose a best friend,
Exactly.
even though it's a best friend. Um, and they don't know what to say, so they don't say anything, or they don't know if they should ask you to go out with them or leave you alone. There's just this, I don't know what to do with her or him kind of thing. And I always tell my clients that when people say, "How are you doing?" Don't say I'm having a meltdown because that they don't know what to do. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear, I guess, as well as can be expected,
Exactly.
you
Exactly.
know, but don't say I'm having a really bad day because they don't really want to rush over and comfort you. It's just too hard. Like it's contagious or they're faced with their own mortality or this could happen to me.
Exactly. Exactly.
And we defy death. We keep people living longer than they want to live
Isn't that the truth?
in this country, you know, because we won't acknowledge, I mean, we all die, but we can't wrap our head around the fact that it's true.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to hear some of your examples, but on chapter 3 of my book, I have a whole chapter on stupid ass things people say.
Love it.
I mean, isn't it like crazy? And how some of the people that you thought would be your friend through thick and thin, they
Mhm.
kind of disappear. And then the most unlikely people come into our lives and actually are our confidants.
Yes, it's true. And sometimes you don't know if people are doing it for themselves. Like, oh, I was really helpful to her. I brought dinner. Or I call every day, even though she doesn't want to be called every day. You know, are you doing what you want or what the mourner wants, the griever?
Right, right. Well, we could talk for hours on this. I read you work with kids as young as 3.
Yeah.
This is a traumatic incidence of so it's compassionate that you're working with kids that young, and yet kids that young need to know how to process death. So how is it that you're able? I mean, Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross had them drawing pictures and balloons and everything
Yeah.
else. How do you actually translate adult stuff that we even have problems processing down to
Yeah.
3-year-old?
Very carefully. Um, Usually I say that sometimes when you're very, 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 very old so that they don't think it's going to happen to them or their parent. Um, your body stops working or it has a disease. So when your heart stops breathing, you can't, your heart stops beating, you can't breathe or think or feel or see or hear. So your body stops working and you die. And the doctors try really, really, really hard to fix it, and sometimes they can't. And so it's a function of your body stopping working. And even if it were a suicide, which happens a lot, but we don't use that languaging with children, but depression is disease in the brain that the doctors can't always fix. And then, you know, really careful to not say things that are scary, like God wanted another angel.
Oh God.
Because then, well, if I'm an angel, I get to go to God and see my mom.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm going to fall off a bed get hurt and die so I can see my mom. And this really happens. Children try to hurt themselves so that they can die and go up to heaven. So, and I use heaven as a place so that when we blow bubbles with a wand, we can send messages up to heaven.
Love
And we
that.
can say, Grandma, I really miss you. I'm doing great in school. So it's just kind of a place that is there. And then I work really hard because all they have at that point at 3, if they even have them, is memories.
Yes, of course.
So I use flashcards with, what was your loved one's favorite color or joke or favorite food to eat so that we can engage in talking about them.
Yes. Yeah.
Because, and I'll always say, I'm worried that when you get old and people ask you about your grandma or something, you won't remember. So let's try to draw pictures or remember now.
Smart. Smart.
Yeah.
And I'm suspecting that those kids keep those drawings. This is profound work, Jill. You also address anticipatory grief. Boy, that
Mm.
is a big, big issue. And I congratulate you for dealing with this. Talk to us about how that manifests in individuals and families.
Yeah. The first grief often is at the time of diagnosis of someone's impending death, even if it's 2 years. A diagnosis is the moment when you know my loved one's going to die. Don't know when, but it's for sure. And then there's the living with the illness, which is anticipating the death. You know, I know what it's going to be like when in some night or two from now or 3, I won't be making dinner for my loved one, or I can see it coming. So it's this anticipation of living every day in fear of death. So it's the scary part of it, the preparation, the how do I live my life now with that person, but knowing that that person is going to leave. And then there's also, because what's really trending right now is a lot of cognitive decline and dementia. It just is. So that's the loss of that person, that loved one whom you knew.
Yes. Yes.
And so it just really people will call and say, my loved one is going to die, has a terminal disease, and I just don't know how to live in it, live with it. How do I act to them? How do I adjust things? How do I stay present? And so that's just really, in fact, I worked with a young man who was 26, and his dad had an ALS diagnosis. And he came to me at the time of diagnosis, and we were together for about 2 years before his dad died. And when his dad finally died, he said, I'm doing so much better than the rest of my family. And I said, because you and I have used the language of death for 2 years.
Yes, exactly.
The words that no one wants to say, we said,
That's right. That's
and we prepared. And he was really lucky. He was really set on doing it right. And so he had 2 years of making beautiful memories with his dad and adjusting, and really the inevitable was just an expected event when he died.
Well, you're normalizing it in a way that's profound. I mean, we use language so slovenly. We say you're dead wrong. You're a
I'm going to
deadbeat.
kill you. I'm going to kill you.
And,
Yeah.
and when we really get down to the absolute, a topic of death and physical dying, et cetera, and mental and the progression of it, it's, if we haven't talked about it, if we haven't processed it, it's much more difficult than if we had. Talk to us about your long-standing involvement with Comfort Zone Camp, the largest
Oh,
camp for kids. Where is it?
Comfort Zone Camp is the nation's largest bereavement group for children. It's national. There are multiple locations. It started in Virginia.
Okay.
It's free of charge, which is amazing. And it truly changes the life of a grieving child in a weekend. Because
My,
I've seen it. Because
yeah,
children, shyly get out of the car and don't want to leave their caregiver who brings them. And then they meet. The point of grief is you're not alone. And
that's
as a
it.
child, you don't know anyone else who's grieving. And so it's a mixture of healing circles twice a day and then going out and playing rope climbing and basketball and doing kid stuff and eating, s'mores. And yet there's this, and a bonfire, and there's this bonding that you are not alone. And the ability to be among other children and say, I don't have a mommy either, is so powerful. And it was started by a couple, well, a woman, Lynn Hughes, who's been honored almost everywhere, and she lost both her mom and dad before she was 10. And she loved sleepaway camp as she got older. And she then met her husband and said, there should be a sleepaway camp for kids like me who were grieving. And it's unreal. It has the ability to change a camper's life in a weekend.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm affiliated with Soaring Spirits International, based out of Simi, California, and founded by a widow. And they used to hold weekends, Camp Widow, they called them, at a Sheraton hotel, but nonetheless. And it was a place where widowed folk were in the majority. Everybody that was there was like them.
Mhm.
There is, to your point, Joe, nothing like it.
There's nothing like it, knowing you're not alone,
Yeah,
because grief is a very lonely experience.
it is. It is.
Even within a family, nobody grieves the same, and nobody had the exact same relationship that you did because they can't, because we're all different, and nobody grieves differently, and everyone loves differently. And you can really be alone amongst a whole lot of grievers grieving the same person.
Yeah. And this whole field of thanatology is so little, there's been so little known and written and so forth about it, but it's this confluence of psychology, sociology, philosophy, medicine, ethics, and sometimes religious
Yep.
component.
Spiritual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the fullness of this line of study and designation as you have.
The field is full, and knowledge studies are going on daily, weekly. We don't know about them, but studies on sleep
Yes.
deprivation and bereavement, studies on, oh, I just was listening to a webinar on neurodivergence and
Yes.
loss,
Oh, yes,
and
yes.
how neurodiverse people grieve completely differently.
Exactly.
So the field is just, people love to, they're researching socioeconomic, all the things that have to do with grief, and the different kinds of losses. The losses that, here's a big one now, is the group in their 20s and 30s are really considered a prior to now unstudied group. And they are grieving completely differently because they call it an off-time event. When you're 20s and 30s, you're not supposed to lose a loved one, not a
Right.
sister, not a parent,
Yeah.
not a spouse, and yet it happens. And there's this group that is growing up overnight, having lost someone and feeling different from their, colleagues or peers. And they really don't know how to, they always say, I feel like two different people. I'm going out for drinks with my friends, and I'm now working with a lawyer on an estate, and I don't even know how to do this. And I'm supposed to be building community and buying a house and what things that people do, and I'm alone because someone really important died. So that's a group that's being studied a lot now. Um,
Very interesting.
Fentanyl, the overdoses from fentanyl is a huge area because it's not going away. And usually it's not that the person, they didn't die from the overdose, they died because there was fentanyl laced in the drugs that they were taking, like from a bad dealer. So often, or like usually, it's not their fault. I mean, it's their fault for taking a drug, but had they gone to the right dealer, it wouldn't have ended that way. And so parents can't really, it's hard for them to wrap their head around it.
It is, and then that takes off, in my mind at least, survivor guilt, right?
Yep,
There's a whole lot of that accompanies if you were with the person, or it's two people in the same car, one dies,
yep.
one's not.
One doesn't.
I just there's more questions that I have than answers, and even that's, I mean, I'm certified grief coach for the what it's worth column, but I don't have the degree that you have, and this is to my way of thinking, something that I would hope every single one of us takes seriously in terms of getting ourselves up to speed so that we can be the friend, the confidant, the
Yeah,
family member
exactly.
of support. What would be one or two good examples that you could throw out, Jill, that anybody can adopt and put into their memory bank and practice so that they can be a better friend?
Mm. So one of the things we always say is don't offer help in general. Demand to be direct and say, not what can I help you with? Because they're going to say nothing. I'm
Nothing.
good.
That,
Instead, say, I know you pick your kids up at 3:30 every day. I'm going to do it. Or I know you go to church. May I go to mass with you? Or not may I, I'm going to.
yeah,
Or I'm going to send my housekeeper over for a morning because I know you're crazed with everything. Because people don't want help and they don't want to feel in distress and needy, but they need help.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So, and the other is don't go away after 4 months.
Right now.
Just don't.
Or after one invitation, like married couple invite a widow out once for dinner, and that's it.
And that's it. You say no, you're out. Yeah.
Or even if you go out, there's all this nonsense like, oh, maybe the married couple, if it's a heterosexual couple, the woman thinks that the husband might be now looking at her, and it's
Mhm.
nuts. It's complete.
And then who pays the check? And it's, and yeah, that's that right. Don't go away.
Mhm, mhm. And how about this, Jill? Say their name.
Hmm. Because they want to know that you remember their loved one. I had a client, female client, and her dad died, and they were very, very close. And her husband kept saying, I don't want to make you upset. And she said, I want you to discuss my dad. Knowing that you loved him is the best thing you can do. Don't, I know he's dead. You're not going to remind me that he died. I know that already. But I want to be reminded that he lived well.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. It's just the nuances if people would just think or ask. Is it more comfortable for you to have me not talk about your dad for a while?
Yeah.
Or are you okay with it? Because I really like to share a lot of stories, you know.
Very, very good advice. Yeah. Well, we've got a long way to go as Americans, and yet I
We
am
do.
so delighted that your website is full with your blog and references, and you're a very good person called on by the New York Times to recommend books. So tell us, our viewing audience, how they can be in touch with you, please.
Sure. I have a website, easy to remember. It's jillgriefcounselor.com. And on the website, probably in at least 20 places, there's a place to click to have a personal complimentary half-hour consult with me to see if grief counseling might fit your needs or if I'm a good fit. My email is all over. You can email me with anything, questions, resources, and that's jillgriefcounselor@gmail.com. That's also all over the website, as is my phone number, but I don't always answer if I'm in session. So, but I believe that nobody should have to grieve alone. And we're never taught in school, and your parents don't teach you, and your friends don't share what really goes on. Grief is a full body experience.
Yes, it
So
is.
people always say, how come my body is doing all these different things? It's happy, it's sad, it's excited, it's screaming, it's not sleeping, it's not eating, it is eating. I don't know what's going on because grief is crazy making.
Yeah, yeah,
And it helps to have help, to normalize it for you, to validate it.
yeah. And I think probably the wisest thing I was taught was no judgment.
You couldn't be more right. No judgment. No judgment.
Yeah. So this has been rich beyond words. I so thank you for your dedication over 20 years in this field. And a real heart for helping the survivors to move through their grief recovery. You don't get over it, you get
Don't.
through it, right? And we've got to feel to heal. So this is a very, very important topic. And if you have someone in your sphere of friends or family that is either facing a daunting diagnosis or has died, I invite you to contact Jill because she'll undoubtedly give you tips and tools to help you help that chief mourner if you're not the chief mourner yourself, and she'll help you if you are. So I thank you, Jill. You
Oh,
deal with people in person at your offices or remotely. Very accessible. Thank you so much for being with us.
you're
And
welcome. And thank you for doing what you do for widows. My gosh.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
So very much appreciate your being with us, and we
my
appreciate
pleasure.
viewers for tuning in. And we invite you, as I say, to make use of Jill's expertise and prowess. And thank you for joining us on the We Can Do It Women Show. Remember, I see you, I value you, and your greatest chapter is just beginning. And if today's episode sparks something in you, I invite you to check out our We Can Do It Women Facebook group. I've just started a Women's Rising Wealth Club. If money seems to be an issue and you feel that you don't know what you don't know about money, there's never a better time to start than today. And I invite you to pop in to the Women's Rising Wealth Club. I've helped hundreds of women just like you make tens of millions of dollars. And so I'd like to help you to do the same thing. So www.wcdiw, which is short for wecandoitwomen.com/club. The notes are in the show notes, and I will welcome you to pop in. The second monthly meeting is tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Eastern, so join us. We are about collaborating and being the sisterhood that is so valuable in the support and the encouragement of each other. And sometimes we don't realize how much we might have missed it or have missed it until we're in it. And now it feels like something we don't want to let go of. And I want you to be a part of that. So join us. Until next time, this is Debra Morrison and reminding you it's never too late to shine. Good day.